Hi, I'm Matt from Soul Shifter. Welcome back to my channel. I want to talk to you about books today, so it's a little book chat video. So if you don't want to do book chat, move along, go and check out some of my other stuff in my playlists. But I haven't done one of these for so long, so I thought, you know what? Let me indulge myself and do one. And if you enjoy this, come along for the ride. Today I want to tell you about fantasy books, and I want to tell you my little journey into the fantasy realm. Now, you who have followed my channel for any length of time know that I'm obsessed with Agatha Christie, and I'm obsessed with anything Victorian, okay? And I love those genres. I reread my Agatha Christie's like all the time because they're just so cool. And I still can't figure out with my Agatha Christie books why at the end of the book it's still the same person, that the murderer is always the same. But anyway, that's a whole different video. I have recently, however, got into fantasy, and I'll tell you how, is because I started watching this program called The Witcher on Netflix. And yes, I know I'm late to the party, but anyway. And I've watched a couple of episodes and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I saw like there's a whole series of books. This is based on books. And there was I think there's like 8 books in the whole, or 9 books in the whole series. And I was on Amazon the other day and I saw that the whole series comes in a box set, and it was for the box set, it was quite expensive, but it was still cheaper than buying all the books separately. So I thought, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to just buy all the books. Please excuse the noise, I'm not wearing my microphone today. Anyway, so I went and I bought all these books, super excited. The books arrived and I was like, yeah, my Witcher books. Anyway, so I started. Anyway, I'm about 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on the 5th book at the moment, okay? And I'm loving them. They're great. And they're not terribly thick. They're pretty readable, you know? However, I want to ask you, and I'm speaking specifically to fantasy writers, what the actual F is going on with you people as far as the incredible density and size of your books. I want to give you an example. There's an author called Robin Hobb. I'd heard of her, but I'd never read her stuff. And she's done a whole universe of books. And one of her books is, it's called The Live Ship Traders. Now, if you're into fantasy, apparently this is like an incredibly well-known, well-loved, and well-respected series of 3 books, The Live Ship Traders. But, oh my God, look at these books. Look at these things. I can use these as door stoppers. That's the one. This one isn't as thick. But look at the last one. Oh my God. Okay, look at this thing. Who the actual fuck reads this shit? It's tiny writing and it's fucking this thick. It's going to take me a year to read this one book, and I've got 3 of these bloody things to get through. You know? What is going on, people? What is happening? At least with The Witcher, we've got... I can breeze through this in like a week, you know? I can get through this if I put my mind to it in a week. And it's great. The story's awesome. I'm not bored or anything. But good God, this is enormous. It's a terrifying thing to actually start. And I think this is why so many people don't want to actually read fantasy, or so many people are so intimidated by it. It's because when you go and buy fantasy, the books are like this, you know? And genuinely, I've got the 3 books. I'm very happy that I bought them. I did buy them secondhand, so they cost me basically nothing for all 3 books. Again, they're not even secondhand. I think these are about 5th hand. But I bought them simply because they're very, very, they come highly recommended. But the moment I got them and I saw them, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy them. But I am hugely intimidated by a book like this. The only book that I have read that is anywhere near this size is Lord of the Rings. And that was, I mean, you know, Lord of the Rings is 3 books and it comes in a thing like this. You can get it as a 1 book. And that's basically as big as this. And I'm just thinking, you know, why am I intimidated by this? Yes, okay, like, for goodness sake, fantasy authors do have this tendency to completely overwrite. That's my opinion. You can spank me if you want, but that's my opinion. I believe that they overwrite stuff, they overblow stuff, they create these worlds that are sometimes so complicated that you need maps and sort of reference books to understand them. But why do I feel so intimidated? I read all the time. It's one of my passions. And I'm not intimidated by books, and I'm not intimidated by words and sort of English. I mean, most of these books are written in, I'm sorry, I'm going there. Most of these books are written in like Victorian English. So I'm not scared of sort of mixing it up and reading like different styles of English. I can read Shakespeare. I can understand it. I mean, I don't particularly like Shakespeare, but I was forced to read it at school, and I've read one or two of his sort of plays, the usual stuff, you know, the Macbeth and the Othello and stuff like that. But I can understand what he's writing. So I'm not afraid of English per se. So why am I terrified of a book that looks like this? I actually don't know, because I can read this. It's not like I cannot read it. Do you think it's because of the commitment? Do you think it's because I know that if I start this, I have to seriously commit myself to reading 903 pages, and that is just book one, okay? 903 pages of book one, and I still have 2 more books that size to get through. Do you think it's because I'm just hugely terrified of committing to that? I must be honest, I am one of those people that starts a lot of things and intends to not finish them. But I'm really, really scared of these books. And I'm not a scary person. I'm not a scared person. I might be a bit scary, but I'm certainly not scared. So I'd just like to know from you guys, do any of you read fantasy? And if so, explain this to me. Explain this massive, monstrous collections of books. Explain this. Tell me why. Why in God's name would somebody write? This is just 3 books in apparently, I think there's about 16, or correct me if I'm wrong, Robin Hobb books in this entire like world that she's created. These are just 3. And if you look at any, which I have in shock and horror, if you look at any other Robin Hobb books, they're all that size. They all monsters, absolute monsters to get through. And she's not the only author. There's you know, Game of Thrones, I think it's Fire and Ice or something like that. There's a whole series of these books as well. And then there's the Wheel of Life, or the Wheel of something. It's got like 16 massive books in it. I don't know how, and if you do read these things and you are completely into fantasy, please tell me, please help me understand a way, or give me a way of getting into this, reading these enormous tomes. As I say, the Witcher books, this to me is a normal book. That's a normal size book, okay? I can cope with this. I can probably cope with something a little bit thicker, perhaps, you know, the Cassandra Clare, I don't know, these Shadowhunter books, City of Heavenly Fire or whatever. I could perhaps cope with that, but that's probably as big as what I can handle. So let me know, give me some advice, please, my fellow fantasy readers. How do I start getting into, or even just start reading these massive, chunky bits of literature? I really would appreciate your help and your advice. Let me know down below. Okay, guys, that was a quick little rant about fantasy books. You know who I am. I'm Nat, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.